Okay, so next up, we have Karen Glueck. Hopefully I said that right. So, okay, Karen is a recognized advocate for agriculture and a communications, operations, and strategic planning expert. Previously, she worked for the agriculture advocacy group Protect the Harvest for 7 years, where she guided the group's growth to national prominence. Prior to joining Protect the Harvest, Karen spent 20 years working in a variety of roles, from operations and training to communications, marketing, and strategic planning, to help grow the largest animal hospital company in the United States, VCA Antech, which is now owned by Mars Animal Health. Karen is currently Vice President of Communications and Strategic Planning at AgPro. So with that, we'll welcome Karen to the stage.
Sure. So before we get started with talking about an enemy in our backyard, there are some, I've been hearing comments throughout the day, and there have been some pretty important dots that I think that we can all connect. And so I want to provide you guys with information about who wrote Agenda 21. It was called the Rio Accord, and it's a man named Maurice Strong. Maurice Strong was involved with the United Nations. He was also friends with George Soros. All right, so these are all names that we know. He was also a long-serving board member of the Humane Society of the United States. And he lived out his remaining years of his life in communist China. Okay, so it's all going back to the ideology of this one man, Maurice Strong. Okay, the Rio Accords, talked about the Bushes, going to Rio de Janeiro, and basically signing on to Agenda 21. So there's a lot of more information and back information that I can provide, and a lot of us can be talking about, but I think just providing the root there can really sort of make everyone understand how we have environmentalism, how these animal rights groups are playing into 30 by 30 that we've talked about, 50 by 50, and all of the things that are happening. It is all ideologically based, and it is all coming from an animal rights agenda, an animal rights ideology. And I'm going to jump forward into the Obama administration and give you guys some other names. Cass Sunstein. You guys remember him? He was Obama's regulation czar. Okay, doesn't that make sense now? Guess who he was married to? Or is married to? Linda Power. You guys know who she was? The American ambassador to the United Nations. Sunstein, look him up. He's written some radical books about animal rights. He is an animal rights ideologue. So, I don't know if you guys noticed in the news the other day, but there was just a court ruling about Wayne Sung from Direct Action Everywhere, and miraculously, a jury in California, of all places, found Wayne Sung and his group, DXE, guilty of trespass and theft. They did those farm invasions. Remember hearing about those in Sonoma? Guess what? Wayne Sung is, or was, because he's been disbarred, a lawyer. Where did he go to law school? In Chicago. Who was his mentor? Cass Sunstein. Okay? So there's lots and lots of dots that can be connected. I think the main thing I want you guys to be thinking about when I'm talking about the enemy in our backyard in Oklahoma is how all of these different organizations and people, and you guys are going to see some familiar names that I'm going to be giving you here, and how it is all melds together. And it really melds together with our opening this morning, talking about not compromising, yes meaning yes, and no meaning no. Okay? So, I know a lot of people, when I talk to people, I've lived in Oklahoma for 5 years now. My husband had taught at Cal Poly, and we were living in California when I was working for Protect the Harvest. And I was watching everything that was going on. As the person in charge of communications for the organization, I learned about a lot of things over the last 7 years, and was able to watch what was happening. And told my husband, how soon can you retire? We've got to go. We've been coming out here to Oklahoma for 30 years with the horse industry. So this was kind of a natural fit. And then the most interesting part about it is when we told family that we were planning to move to Oklahoma, we had on both sides of my husband's family, they said, well, your great-grandfather and your great-great-grandmother are buried on both sides, in Edmond and up near Guthrie. So it was a little bit of a coming home, I guess. So in talking with people about Oklahoma and also talking with people from Texas about Texas, you still hear, oh, we're safe here. We're going to be fine. Now, I was going to also talk about, in addition to the Kirkpatrick Foundation, I was going to talk about the Texas Humane Legislative Network that Mindy had mentioned. But there's so much information. I decided let's focus on Oklahoma, because we're the Oklahoma Independent Stockgrowers Association. I want you guys to be aware of what's going on in Texas. Protect the Harvest did a 3-part series on what's going on with the Texas Legislative Humane Network. So I strongly recommend going to the Protect the Harvest website and looking it up. There's a lot of great information there, background information. We did a series, we've done some series on 30-30, 50-by-50, the 17 goals for sustainable development. We did a 4-part series on that. So it's a great place to go, heavily researched, fact-based information. So all of that being said, let's take a look at the Kirkpatrick Foundation. Now, you probably have seen Kirkpatrick Oil and Gas. You have seen the Kirkpatrick Bank here in Oklahoma City. The family has done some wonderful things over the years, philanthropic things for Oklahoma, from sponsoring all different kinds of programs to museums to the Oklahoma Zoo and building a new veterinary hospital there. They've done a lot of great things. However, in this last chunk of time, the legacy of the family has been passed on. So now there's a grandson who is on the National Council for the Humane Society of the United States, who's an animal rights ideologue. And he is in charge of the Kirkpatrick Foundation. Now, the same family also has the Kirkpatrick Family Foundation. Okay, so want to make sure that that's very clear, that there's a big difference in what's going on there. Okay, so most recently this year, the Kirkpatrick Foundation held their first Oklahoma conference on the humane treatment of pigs. Okay, here at OSU OKC campus. So the question is, what could an animal rights group be up to holding a meeting about the pork industry in Oklahoma? Why are they doing that? So we do have this enemy in the backyard. So I signed up. Okay, I signed up to go, right up the road from me. I'm going to go and find out what's going on there. And be honest and transparent, so I let them know Karen from Protect the Harvest is signing up to attend this meeting. We had written 2 different exposés about the Kirkpatrick Foundation and published it because we wanted people to be aware. So let's take a look at the letter I received back. Oh, we can't read it here. Let's see if I can read it here. From Louisa McCune, who is the executive director of the Kirkpatrick Foundation. She said, "Dear Karen, I was surprised to see you registered for our conference tomorrow, particularly since Protect the Harvest has been so antagonistic towards our work and our foundation. This conference is really intended for well-meaning people who may have differing views and livelihoods, but who welcome a collaborative approach to society's most complex problems. Our experience with extremist organization, Protect the Harvest, is standing up for property rights and animal ownership extremist? Apparently so, according to Louisa and the Kirkpatrick Foundation. So our experience with extremist organization Protect the Harvest has been the opposite. Yes, because we exposed their activities. Can you let me know what your goals are by attending our event? Is it to attack us? If so, probably best for you to stay home." So that is like, you better not say anything negative about us, right? That's the underlying message there. Next, she says, "However, if you are interested in leadership," because we needed leadership, "guided by curiosity and a solutions-oriented path forward, then I invite you to be my guest tomorrow at my table." Okay, my guest at my table. What does that mean? I'm going to babysit you. And at our speaker's dinner tonight. You know, my cell phone is, here you go, you can call if you have any questions. Best personal regards. So we contemplated it as an organization. Should we go? Should we not go? I also decided to call the Oklahoma Pork Council. Do they know about this? Are they going? If I don't go, are they going to have somebody there that can let us know what's going on? And their answer was, we've participated in their activities in the past, and they completely misrepresented our attendance, and they claimed that our attendance was therefore providing acceptance, right? It was giving legitimacy. So they said, we don't go anymore. We decline. Okay? So we answered, after that discussion, we answered back just with a statement. We support science and fact-based outcomes important to agriculture and ensuring a free and fed America. Animal welfare is also important to us as an organization and as individual producers. Thank you for your inquiry and your invitation to join the speaker group at the dinner this evening. We just left it at that. Okay, so here's the meeting. Okay, I didn't have to send anybody or go because they had pushed it all out on social media. So why would they have a pot-bellied pet pig at a meeting about the pork industry in Oklahoma? Why? Emotions, right? And that's what we've talked about. They're keying in on emotions. So they had many, if you go on the Kirkpatrick Foundation Facebook page, you'll see how many pictures they took of all of these different people feeding snacks to this pot-bellied pig. So they also provided certificates of attendance. And it says, you know, I attended on the humane treatment of pigs. So let's look at one of the attendees. She's from Second Chance Animal Rescue. Why would an animal rescue group attend a meeting about the pork industry in the state of Oklahoma? Yes. Now let's look and see who's there. Who else is there? This is Emily, and you can't really read her tag. I'm sorry, it's not so great, but she is an OSU vet tech, Oklahoma State University. And so is her friend Summer, I think was her name. They're there as well. So they also have partnered with a natural food company. So in addition to having this meeting, they're also doing some natural grocers. We're hosting workshops on humane summer menus. Okay? Free food, free magazines, and we hope to see you there. So here's their ad. Food choices that improve the lives of Oklahoma farm animals. Okay, let's take a look at who else was there. Tom Poole. Tom Poole is from Animal Wellness Action. Animal Wellness Action is an organization formed by Wayne Pacelli after he got basically thrown out of HSUS for his behavior, and Joe Maxwell from Organization of Competitive Markets. Joe Maxwell has his fingers in at least 5 or 6 different organizations, and you'll see his name come up again. So Joe Maxwell is part of Animal Wellness Action. Tom Poole is from Animal Wellness Action, and Marty Irby is also part of Animal Wellness Action. They also have, you look at Marty Irby and Joe Maxwell, Farm Action Fund. Okay, Farm Action Fund just produced an article that a lot of people shared about what was going on with the NCBA. Okay? We're giving legitimacy to Farm Action Fund, who is involved with Wayne Pacelli, Animal Wellness Action, Tom Poole. The Socially Responsible Agriculture Project. That's SRAP. You guys might have heard about Valley Oaks in Missouri. Did you guys hear about what happened to Valley Oaks in Missouri? That is was a farm to fork family operation. They were producers. They helped backgrounders. They had their own feedlot. They had their own small processing plant. They had a butcher shop right there where people could come in. Their feedlot was state-of-the-art, completely enclosed. They went and bought grocery stores where they could sell their beef, and they were also selling their beef to fine restaurants in the major metro areas, Kansas City, St. Louis, etc. SRAP, Joe Maxwell, and Marty Irby came in and set up what I call a sleeper cell. Okay, so SRAP is made up of a lot of attorneys, and they have a boilerplate system for setting up little individual 501c3s and then ginning up dissent and resentment, and then helping a local community set everything up to file lawsuits. And it makes it seem like it's coming from local people. It's not coming from local people. It's coming from SRAP. SRAP also was involved in the demise of the Smith Valley Dairy. Are you guys familiar with what happened with that? Smith Valley Dairy in Nevada? State-of-the-art dairy facility in Nevada. The whole idea was to provide milk products for powdered milk, which is being produced in Fallon, Nevada. The organization that I work for now, AgPros, our engineers and consultants helped design that facility. SRAP came in, and it went above and beyond. It was state of the art. SRAP came in at the local school, showed dairy is scary, and all of these different documentaries or fake-umentaries actually, to gin up resentment, and they did the same thing. Boilerplate, got a local organization started, and then filed a lawsuit. Now, Smith Valley Dairy prevailed in that lawsuit, but guess what? The cows have been sold, and the facility is for sale. Okay? So Mindy talked about this. We talked about this at lunch. These groups come in and file lawsuits and harass and harangue to the point where a producer may be completely in the right and have been doing no wrong at all, and yet they are just being stripped of their financial means defending themselves against the activities of these groups. All right, so we talked about that. So now let's look who else was there. Asha Brundage Moore. She's from the Animal Legal Defense Fund, the most egregious legal organization that attacks animal owners and livestock production. They're vying for personhood for animals. Do you remember the lawsuit where a horse was trying to sue its owner in Oregon for it being mistreated? They're behind that. Animal Legal Defense Fund is a group of attorneys that are the driving force behind a lot of the lawsuits and legislation that's going on. Not a good group. Not a group we want to give legitimacy to. Okay, so when you go to the Kirkpatrick Foundation website, this little thing comes up, and most of their website's grayed out, and they have this little area here that you click on, Farm Animal Welfare. Okay? So, Christian Kesey is the president of the Kirkpatrick Foundation. Again, I mentioned he's on the National Council for the Humane Society of the United States. The foundation financially supports radical animal rights groups. Over 500,000 have been given to what they're calling animal welfare groups that see it our way. In addition, they've given over 150,000, and this is an old number. I haven't even looked up this year's numbers, to the Humane Society of the United States. They're contributing significant funding even to more radical anti-agricultural groups like Mercy for Animals. So, you guys have heard of the Food and Agriculture Organization, the FAO, with the United Nations. Mayun Park, who was very involved with that, was also very involved with Mercy for Animals. Okay, so are you guys seeing? We have animal rights, we have the United Nations, and we have this mixture of ideology and support. The Kirkpatrick Foundation was against Oklahoma right to farm. And they're the ones, that's the money behind the pushback against it. And when you look it up, at first it sounds like, okay, they're just trying to provide, and that's what they say, oh, we're trying to provide a nonpartisan view. But when you dig down, you can see, and the information's still there by looking at their videos and everything else, it's animal rights, ideologically based. So, one thing, too, that I found in my years of working with Protect the Harvest, and other folks who are familiar with the activities of animal rights groups will also tell you, is that they have a lexicon. They are hijacking words that they use in their communications. And at Protect the Harvest, we put together a whole list of some of the different words and how they're hijacking their use. One would be murder, right? They consider processing of animals as murder. That's just one example. So here, they now are wondering, they were called out by Protect the Harvest as being an animal rights group. We exposed that. So now this question is on their website. Is the conference only for people who advocate for animal rights? And they say, oh, well, our Safe and Humane initiative and the animal conference that we support. So let me back up here, okay? The animal conference. Do you guys know about that? For several years now, since 2015, the Kirkpatrick Foundation has been running something called the Animal Conference in Oklahoma City. And it's a multiple day conference, and they are bringing in animal rights ideologues from all over the country. And I will go into and show you guys who some of those people are that are regular attendees. The most frightening thing is that there are people within Oklahoma state offices, that, like Fish and Wildlife, for example, that are participating in this. Okay? So, this is about their conference. They say, we welcome all in the animal well-being community who are respectful to differing points of view. Sometimes language and terminology can be polarizing, and we have found that the phrase animal rights is both intentionally and unintentionally divisive. The Safe and Humane Conference is designed to bring concerned and interested people together to study and communicate about the current issues and future trends of animal well-being. Okay, so when you think about manipulating, you think about a language lexicon. I want you guys to be thinking about those things as I show you some of this other stuff. So here are some of the people that have been at their conferences. Kathleen Wood, another person from the Animal Legal Defense Fund. And her talk was from farmhouse to courthouse. Okay? They had a vegan menu for lunch. Here's the next one, Joe Maxwell. We're hearing him again. The truth about industrial agriculture. He's also, again, OCM, FRAP, Family Farm Action Alliance. Wayne Pacelli. Here he is again. Our Country of Animals. And he's now, instead of representing himself this time from Animal Wellness Action, he also has the Center for a Humane Economy. Okay? He has written a book about the humane economy, which is basically about changing U.S. economy away to a plant-based economy and away from animal agriculture. Okay. Again, we have an article about that. It's several years old. We called it, on the Protect the Harvest website, we called it the inane economy. That's how you can look it up. And then, of course, here we have Rachel Dreskin from Plant-Based Foods Association, and her title of her talk was The Rise of Plant-Based Foods and What It Can Mean for Animals. Okay, this is all going on in your backyard every other year. Then we had Claire Blayne, the Director of Development at the Good Food Institute. It's an animal rights organization. Their stated goal is working to end all animal agriculture. She also worked for Mercy for Animals, and her talk was about how to fundraise for animal rights organizations. Oklahoma has a HSUS state director. I don't know if you guys knew that, but the HSUS state director for Oklahoma was there. There were other HSUS executives there. And then the dean of the OSU Center for Veterinary Health Sciences was there. So Mindy was telling me about her experience having to have a horse put down. Yeah, you want to just say a couple words about it?
I had basically had a horse that contracted leukemia, and we were treating him for 3 years plus. And toward the end of September, he had dropped a significant amount of weight, so I thought, you know what, we've got to put him down. So I had taken another horse about 4 years ago, right after we moved here, up to OSU, and it was no big deal. You know, you hand them the halter, you say your goodbyes to your horse, and they do a necropsy on the horse for the vet kids. It just, it's a perfect scenario. Well, I did it again for my horse Trooper a few weeks ago, but this time I was a little bit alarmed and taken aback because the vet that came out to take the horse had 20 questions. How long have you had this horse? What has been his issue? He's quite thin. Why is he so thin? I mean, come on. Do you think I would be showing up to OSU to have my horse euthanized if there was some nefarious something going on? I mean, it came with lots of questions. And it made me very nervous because of what I do. And I'm like, great, I'm going to be on the evening news or something crazy. And I called Karen almost right after I got home, and I'm like, I information in their vet office at OSU where I dropped off my horse and got 20 questions, and it looks like they're literally funding the vet school. They're providing huge grants to OSU vet school, and it just sent a chill down my spine that this group is going to be influencing. And you know this already, but there is a huge lack of large animal vets. And my equine vet that I use basically told me that only this year in 2023, graduates from OSU vet school, there was one large animal vet student who graduated, and the other 14 were small animal vets. We're in a huge crisis of large animal veterinarians. So that combined with what Karen's talking about with the Kirkpatrick Foundation funding this organization and the vet school, it's alarming. And what happened to me on top of all of that, I rolled out of there very concerned. And we should all be alarmed.
Yeah.
Thank you.
So there were other professors there from the OSU vet school and professors from UT Austin again. Then they had Jonathan Balcombe, who has worked for PETA, the HSUS, and Physicians Committee for Responsible Medicine. Are you familiar with that organization? That organization, PRCM, pushes out a lot of disinformation about nutrition and human health. And less than 7% of the people that are involved in that organization are actually physicians. And the guy who's running it was the medical director for the HSUS. Okay? So it's an animal rights group. It promotes a vegan lifestyle. Tiny percentage of doctors as members. Then there was Christopher Leonard, the author of The Meat Racket and The Secret Takeover of America's Food Business. And he also writes negatively about large modern farms. As I mentioned, there were numerous Oklahoma State office holders. The Nature Conservancy was there. Okay, are you guys seeing how all this is fitting together? Best Friends Animal Society, which is another really bad group that sounds like they're doing a lot of good things, and they're not. Of course, again, another keynote speaker, staff attorney from the Animal Legal Defense Fund, Wayne Pacelli. This time he was, did a talk based from the Animal Wellness Action. And of course, Joe Maxwell. Joe Maxwell was there. He's been there every year. He's deeply involved with the Kirkpatrick Foundation. So he's held several positions within the HSUS, including Director of Rural Outreach, Vice President of Rural Outreach, and the Senior Political Director of HSUS's legislative affiliate, the Humane Society Legislative Fund. So all of the stuff that the HSUS is behind in pushing different things that Mindy was talking about across the country is being supported by the Humane Society Legislative Fund. And they're funding the lawmakers who are pushing forward. Now, guess which lawmaker is their super darling that they love so much that they've given a lot of awards to? Cory Booker. Okay? So, again, I want to remind you guys of our talk this morning of compromise and yes is yes and no is no. Getting in bed with Cory Booker is giving him legitimacy. They turn around, these people turn around and from the Organization for Competitive Markets, Farm Action, they turn around, and Cory Booker turn around and say, we have the support of ranchers. We have the support of independent ranchers. So there's a lot of things, Mindy was talking about the OFF Act. You don't have to have Cory Booker involved. You can pick another representative. There are other people that will support the things that need to happen to support our industry without making a deal with the devil. And we talked about the devil this morning too, right? What was said about what the devil does? Makes it look like it's right. Yes. Okay? So, that's what these guys are all about. Okay. Sure. Doesn't mean you can't take, so if you like what that article said, okay, you rewrite it, share it yourself. Don't give that group legitimacy, okay? Yes, they did. Yes. Yep. Complicity, hypocrisy. Yeah. Well, right. So that's why I'm bringing this up. I mean, I understand. I absolutely understand wanting to make things happen. Okay. I get that. But there is no room. We have no room for compromise. We have no room to give legitimacy to these people because they take and run with it. Okay? And we don't get a chance to talk. They're talking to the news. They're talking to CNN and MSNBC and even Fox News. And they're giving their side of the story and they're saying independent ranchers, farmers and ranchers support us. Okay? So, Maxwell, let's go back to him again. He also is the founder and president, I mentioned a Family Farm Action. He uses an advisor named Ammon Steele, who is the executive director of Real Food Challenge. Real Food Challenge is an organization that partners with the Organization for Competitive Markets and radical animal rights and eco groups like Farm Forward and Friends of the Earth. Are you guys familiar with Friends of the Earth? Okay, Friends of the Earth is another radical group that has been known for doing all kinds of true domestic terrorism over the years. Okay, you can look them up. Maxwell is SRAP, and I talked about SRAP already. Okay, so part of what the Kirkpatrick Foundation has done as a part of their animal conference is they're not just having a conference and bringing in all these people for days and days and talking about it. They're doing more things. So they conducted an Oklahoma animal study. Did you guys know that? They analyzed and did a study on animals in Oklahoma and agriculture in Oklahoma. Here's who's on their advisory council. I mean, these seem like, unbiased folks, right? Laura Dunn, staff attorney for the Animal Legal Defense Fund, Criminal Justice Program. Cynthia Armstrong, okay, again, Oklahoma State Director for the HSUS. Shay Green, Executive Director for Faunalytics. Have you guys heard about Faunalytics? Okay, again, we have an article written about Faunalytics on the Protect the Harvest website. Okay, Faunalytics is a relatively new group, and they're like a data crunching group. So basically, they're crunching data with the idea that they want to have results that project their ideology and agenda. Okay.
You're calling it evidence-based.
Yes. Yes.
We've got the evidence. Everything else is not true.
Yes. Yes. And we just actually, the organization I work for, AgPros, we just pushed out an article in answer to the study that went out a few weeks ago about diabetes, type 2, and red meat. So the T.H. Chan School of Public Health at Harvard did another observational study, and which of course was debunked. Here's the sad thing about that. So you can find that on our Ag Professionals website, and I'd love for people to be sharing it because so far, Ag Professionals is the only organization really that has stood up and said anything. Okay, where are our producer groups? Why are they not taking a stand and saying something?
This Faunalytics is a lot like the climate hub and the From
Yes.
Because they're turning out, the climate has started turning out science with the climate change, with the
Yes.
truth, as they say. And we've got one in El Reno. Yeah. So
Yes. Yes. Yeah. Yes. That's okay. So they're part of this Oklahoma animal study. And then we also had the senior policy advisor for the Humane Society of the United States on that. Okay. So their safe and humane agenda that they have on their website. Yeah. Okay. Says they want to phase out and eliminate animal welfare systems such as cages for egg-laying hens and farrowing crates. They want to discourage the expansion of large modern farms. They want to push, so that's dairies, feedlots, pork producers, egg producers, poultry producers, and they want to push legislation outlined by the radical animal rights group, the Animal Legal Defense Fund. Okay, I'm going to talk really fast. Okay, so Christian Kesey said, this is in an interview, you can look this all up online. There's a pretty misleading, or attempting to be misleading video about what the Kirkpatrick Foundation is up to. So Christian said, being kind is something, being kind to each other and to our fellow earthlings. Okay? So we go back to lexicon, we go back to how language is used to manipulate people, and who has a Teach Kind program? PETA. Okay? Alright, so here's Louisa, the lady who sent me the letter, and in this video she starts talking about sentience. She says the eyes are where we see the connection between the human animal and the non-human animal. Okay? So here we are. This is the non-human animal. This is language, part of the lexicon used to manipulate. She said these are sentient creatures just like we are. And she said we are really starting to turn our lens towards the animals in factory farms in Oklahoma. The scale of suffering is enormous. Okay, so in this video, they had information about how they were trying to help with spay and neuter programs, other animals, and other animal programs, but the fundamental is the animal rights ideology. So Kesey says, many of the people that are in the animal well-being community are isolated. They come to the Kirkpatrick Foundation offices and they are treated with warmth and respect. And Louisa hears them and tries her best to improve the work they are doing. So they feature this group called Oliver and Friends on their video. Look at what the guy who runs Oliver and Friends, what his t-shirt says. His t-shirt says, friends, not food. Okay? So, Louisa says, or no, Jenny and Jason Hayes who run it says, we are an animal sanctuary. All of the animals stay here for the duration of their lives. All of them were either rescued from animal agriculture, or some other sort of cruelty. Our main focus is farm animals. So then Louisa says, our friends at Oliver and Friends Animal Farm Sanctuary, they're seeing incredible suffering of animals that have somehow found their way from a factory farm to her farm sanctuary. Okay, here's something else that's incredibly alarming. And here it is, $200,000 to OSU's College of Veterinary Health Sciences. Okay? That's why we're seeing that shift there. Here's something else that's alarming. You know, we learned about drones being used to inspect our facilities. The Kirkpatrick Foundation has basically paid the salary of an investigative reporter, right? And it says, they're pleased to announce it's received $65,000 grant from the Kirkpatrick Foundation to begin covering the Oklahoma agribusiness and meatpacking industries. Okay, so that's what's going on. Yes, Investigate Midwest. Okay. All right. So they're trying to say we're not an animal rights group, right? But it's walking like a duck, quacking like a duck, and looking like a duck. Okay? So, again, the Oklahoma Pork Council, they got it right? They said, we are not going to participate in the Kirkpatrick Foundation's meeting because we do not want to give them legitimacy. Okay? So they got it right. We can't compromise. We can't give legitimacy to the very groups vying to destroy animal agriculture. That's Organization for Competitive Markets, because that's run by Joe Maxwell, who has a long and storied history. They simply do not have our best interest in mind. If we do, then we become their useful idiots. Okay, so again, we do not want to align with people who don't have our best interests at heart. If you look at their behavior and activity, they're walking like a duck, they're quacking like a duck, they look like a duck, they're a duck. And I say, what's most important is to make sure we're not aligning ourselves with these kinds of people. There are other people, there are other lawmakers, there are other things that we can do in order to get the things done that we need to get done. Let's not give people like that legitimacy. I also really want to encourage all of you guys to pay attention to what's going on with the Kirkpatrick Foundation, because they're ramping things up. There's a lot of money behind what they're doing, okay? And they're focused on us here in Oklahoma, okay? Well, thank you, guys. Okay. Yes?
When you introduced me to the Kirkpatrick Foundation, I went and looked at their site, obviously. One of the things that I noticed is that they did a landmark study in 2016 that stated that they want to influence the voter base and state legislature in Oklahoma on how we change laws on the use and views about private and public land use.
Okay.
It's on their website.
So there you have it.
Really scary.
Yes.
You probably noticed that Gene Kirkpatrick was an ambassador to the United Nations from Oklahoma. So I suspect she's grandma and great-grandma or something.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, I didn't know.
Yes.
She's from Oklahoma.
Yeah.
Have you looked at the Noble Foundation?
Yes, I have, and the Noble Foundation has been participating at these.
And they're
Yes.
doing some of their own stuff too. I think Bert has alerted me with the Noble Foundation.
Uh-huh. Yeah, they're doing. Yes.
No, and I think they do something. That was awesome.
Thanks. Oh, thank you.